Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations, and today we're going to do a little painting. So I don't know about you guys, I don't send out Christmas cards to a huge big honking list. So I don't buy pre-made store-bought Christmas card packs. What I do like to do is when I have a special someone or I'm giving a special little gift, and sometimes all I'm gifting is the card, I like to make it myself. Now, you can do the scrapbooking, you've got punches and all this kind of stuff, but I just like to paint. So what I thought that I do is I sketched out, this is my plan. So just so you know, this is what I do. I just kind of sketch some ideas out. We're gonna see how it goes. So I just have a little tin of watercolors. A dollar store tin is fine. You just wanna activate them a little bit, right? By spritzing them out there. So get them a little bit wet. Have them starting to work. Okay, stop spraying. Here we go. Continuous mixture. Sometimes mists too long. And the other thing that I have is just watercolor paper. Now, I'm not using expensive watercolor for this. This pad, $3.25 from the dollar store. And all that I have done is simply, because it's inexpensive, is I have just folded them in half. So this will be my card. There is a rough side and a smooth side. Smooth side in, rough side out. I want to do my watercolor on the rough side. And if I was using more expensive watercolor paper, I would cut this down and mount it onto my cardstock. So different color backgrounds, things like that. So you're perfectly fine to do that if you wanted to put them onto like red construction paper, red cardstock, and green, or whatever accents it. That's cool. That's fine. This is a huge pack for $3. I mean, what am I? I'm doing like 40 cents a card. If I really mess up the front, let's say I just mess up the card, then I will cut it in half and I will just do my card on the back and I will mount it. So really, there's no way to go wrong. And using, an inexpensive paper, perfectly cool. Now, what I am going to do is I am going to, oh my goodness, everything avalanching on me because you know that this is messy. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take you overhead and we're going to do these together. Now, some of them are going to have to be done in stages. Meaning I'll need to lay down my color and let it dry and we'll add details later, that kind of thing. So we'll kind of do the rough and we'll do the finishing together. But I don't know, I have 4, 5, 6 designs, ideas in my mind. We're gonna do a bunch of them together. And you can pick your favorites and do it multiple times, do an assortment of them. If you've got a market, if you really love this and you've got a market, you could do a grouping of maybe 6 different cards together and sell them as handmade Christmas cards for other people to gift. I don't know, whatever strikes your fancy. Let's get overhead and let's get started though. For this first one, and let me just mention, these brushes are all dollar store brushes as well. So I know sometimes, for a craft like this, I really don't need to have expensive paints or expensive brushes or expensive paper. I just have a little plate for me to be able to mix some of my colors if I need to on here so that I'm not using them super concentrated from my tray. And that's it. So I have some painter's tape. And what I thought that I would do first is a Christmas tree. So I'm just going to use the tape to sort of delineate out. And you can see I am not measuring, right? I am just faking. So if it's not in the middle, it's not in the middle. I'm having fun with this. I'm not I'm not sweating it, right? So I'm just kind of eyeballing a little bit, but there's my tree. And I just want to burnish right on the inside of it because that's where I'm going to be painting, okay? So all I'm going to do for this one, and I can just take a squared off brush. I have some water sitting up over here, just to be able to wet my brush. And I can pretty much do this with whatever color I'd like. So let me take a bit of the blue. Oh, that's a good green. Let's go there. And let me maybe take some of this green and maybe just lighten it up a little. All right, so now I got a bit of color here. So what I'm looking at doing is just drawing, painting some stripes. And I'm not agonizing over how straight they are, how even they are, how my color is working. I'm just going for it. And the idea here is that we're just doing some stripes across here. You could do multi-tone stripes, right? So you could do them in reds, you could do them in blues, you could do them in purple, you could do it ombre. You have full control over the look. It doesn't have to be greens, right? And that's the beauty of this. And I think I'm just gonna take a little bit of a darker green and just kind of bleed it into a little bit of my edging here. This one's already drying a bit, but let's just get it in a bit and a little bit more of that intense color here. Okay, that's it. We're gonna let that dry and come back to it. Let's go with, while I've got some of these greens out, let's go with this. Now I wanna have a bit of a red for this one as well. So let me get some of that red out. And I think that might be more the red I'm looking for, this one. All right, so I'm just gonna freehand this one. And we're just gonna start on one side and do a somewhat straight line across the bottom. Now, if you really wanted it to be perfect, you could tape that one off too. But you know what? We're just playing, and I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Now, I'm gonna take a different brush, just slightly pointy, and I'm gonna take some of my greens that I've got going here, and I'm gonna start from this corner. Now, I don't want this green to touch the red because if it does, they will bleed together. But what I do want to do is just kind of roughly draw kind of a Christmas tree shape. And I'm just going to fill that in. So again, on this one, if you wanted, you could tape this off individually. So if you really wanted or needed And then I'm going to come to the other side and I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm just going to kind of start at the top and I'm just going to eyeball. And then fill that guy in. And so I'm going to do 5 trees across. Right? So I'm going to get my 5 trees done, doing exactly the same process, and then set this one off to the side to dry. Now, this next one, and these are going to be my last tree ones. We actually are doing 2 trees initially, and then when it's dry, we're going to come back. So I just want to show you variations. So for this one, we're just doing exactly the same thing. We're just going to drop in a bunch of color. And then let it dry. For this next one, I'm going to take a different brush and some cleaner water. And I'm going to take some brighter colors. So maybe let's get a yellow out there. And what I'm going to do is just paint kind of some bright little, you know, slightly egg shapes. These are going to be our Christmas tree bulbs. So we've got one that's kind of yellowy. One, let me do kind of a bit of a reddish orange here. Let's do this guy over here. Okay, and then we let those dry. Next one. Let's try. It's nice how I'm like, maybe we could do it. Let me get some color happening here. I maybe want a little lighter blue. Although, you know what? All right, so for this one, let's maybe try purple. We haven't done a purple. So purples and blues maybe. So for this one, we're gonna do a bit of a stylized bird. So I'm gonna start with that shape, sort of an inverted S. Let me bring this water over here. And then we're gonna just take this down. Give him a big belly. Just a little bit of a beak. All right, now we can just drop color in. So let's get a bunch of water in here. So you can see that we're just focusing on using very simple shapes. Nothing that has to be super detailed. Maybe get a little bit of. Okay, now he has to dry. So we're waiting on 5 of them to dry, and then we can carry on. Now, this card we weren't finished with painting. So what we have to do is take off our paper. Don't worry about the bleed. And we are now going to tape over this edge. The base again. This edge. And then 2 little short pieces just coming up here. And then we need to paint that centerpiece. Okay? So we're going to get it wet and we're going to drop in. I'm just going to use a mess of colors here. So let's just drop in some color. I got a little bit of yellow. Let's brighten it up here and there. So again, whatever you feel like. And then this guy's got to dry. So we'll put him off to dry again. And bear in mind, you could use watercolors for this. You could use tempera paint for this. You could use any kind of art paints that you have. You could choose to do this entirely with markers and crayons or pencil crayons, whatever you got. Okay, let's start working on some of these. So this is the first one that we did. We just want to take that tape off. And again, I mean, you're going to get some bleed through, but I'm not agonizing over it, so don't y'all. Now, I'm going to finish mine off with lifting up some paper, but again, I don't care. Just smooth it out. With some markers. So I have some little fine line Sharpie markers. I have some Tonbao. These are just little water-based markers that are double-ended, right? So you've got a slightly finer tip. You've got more of a paint brush on this end. And I'm just using them. You could just use paint if you'd like. So I'm just giving my tree a little bit of a trunk. And here's where you can go. So for this, there's my Sharpie, I can outline these. So I'm just using a fine marker and I'm just kind of adding rough lines in here. So again, I'm not looking at it being perfect because it's going to be super cute regardless. And if I wanted perfect, I would have bought a store-bought card. So I could choose at this point to say, okay, great, I just want to add, you know, a little star up here. I could add, you know, some swags if I wanted here and there. You get to do whatever you'd like. Right? So you could have a swag swooping down if you want, coming across, and you could do little red balls. This could be it. Now, the other thing that I will do is once my cards are done, I will resize them. So if you notice here, this is maybe about a 1/2 inch at the top. I will cut this off about 1/2 inch from the bottom so that it is proportional. It doesn't look like my tree is kind of lost in space here. The other thing that you can do instead, if you wanted to, is you could just add little borders. You could, so let me see. Okay, let me go cut this off and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so what you can do, and here I would just start in a corner, is just draw a little curvy line around the edge. And you could go all the way across if you wanted to. You could just leave it like this. You could, so here, let's say I did a swag, just to show. And you could then add maybe red. Okay, I think a Sharpie would be a little bit more vibrant. And just add in little embellishments. And you can see where just these little details really start to kind of pick up your design, and you've got a cute little card. Okay, that's one. So to finish this one off, I think all I'm gonna do is just subtly put some little gold polka dots all over the trees. And then I'll just do some little lines periodically. All right, now we have our little lights. So for this one, I'm just going to, let me maybe start by outlining them. Let them start to kind of take shape here. And then we're just going to draw their little tip. Okay, so the little part that we screw in. And then we can, I'm going to take a slightly thicker black marker, if I remember which one that is. I think that's you. And we're just going to kind of draw kind of looping rope through them. All right, this one, we're looking at triple trees. So what we had done was our two little trees in the foreground, and then we had added our big tree in the background. So what's left for us to do with this one is to embellish it. Now let's take a look at our little bird. So first, we need to just kind of outline the bird. Now you could choose not to outline any of these at all and leave them just that rougher look. I just like it because even though my edges aren't perfect and my shape is just kind of roughed in and even my outlining isn't perfect, it gives kind of the look of the item that I did. So I don't have to be perfect in what I did. It just kind of has that look to it. Now, all I want here, well, that's not a good green. Let me try a Sharpie. So we kept our shapes pretty simple for these cards because you've got enough aggravation during the holidays as it is. You want it to be something that's going to be fairly quick, fairly easy, cute, but that's going to still have the fun factor for you rather than stressing you out. So we have our little initial Christmas tree. We have our groupings of Christmas trees, and I just hand lettered and let it go in terms of whether it was perfect or straight or whatever. You could certainly opt not to put a sentiment on the outside. You could just simply get a stamp on the inside. But I was kind of working with, you know what, if you don't have any craft supplies, right? Go to the dollar store, buy some watercolors there, buy some watercolor brushes, and buy some paper. For under $10, you're going to have, I don't know how many sheets are in this. 20 sheets. So for under $10, you'd have 20 cards. You could extend it out if you cut each of the cards in half, right? So we have our little happy holidays ornaments, which I think are super cute. We have our little trees. I just did little gold lines and gold dots and just a little bit of that embellishment around the outside to kind of cover a little bit of that white space. And then we have our little bird of peace, and I just did a little bit of the same kind of border at the top and the bottom that they're holding in their beak. And I mean, it looks bird-like. It doesn't have to be a perfect bird. None of these have to be perfect, but I think that they'd be appreciated. Let me know what you think of these ones, guys. Let me know if you're gonna give them a try. Love to hear from you as always, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.